it just got very real when it comes to Mason McTavish getting traded. We talk about a connection that could lead to Mason being traded away in this edition of Ducks Digest. Hey, this is Mike Nelson. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I want to thank the 19% of you, the ones who are watching these videos, who have already hit the sub button. But 81% of you have not subscribed yet. Not sure why. We're the newest Anaheim Ducks YouTube channel. Bring you everyday content. Help out a fellow Anaheim Ducks fan since 2003 and hit that subscribe button. But let's get right into this story. As we know, Mason McTavish continues to be in the headlines when it comes to a trade with another team that, man, I can't believe we're even talking about this. Mason McTavish to the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, that would be an absolute disaster for the Anaheim Ducks if they decide to trade McTavish to Detroit. They already traded John Gibson away there to Detroit, and now it would be another player headed to the same team. And I just don't agree at all with the Ducks making this trade. But there is now a connection that a source has pointed out, RG.org posting this. Yzerman-Verbeek relationship may help Red Wings land McTavish. That is not a headline you want to hear, not a headline you want to read if you're a Ducks fan at this time. But this article kind of talks a little bit about why we should, keep an eye on this. The Detroit Red Wings are one team showing serious interest in a trade for Anaheim Ducks star Mason McTavish, sources tell RG. This article goes into depth on what is going on exactly with Anaheim. The dog days of the 2025 NHL offseason are officially in session, but the calendar turned to August. Speculation surrounding Anaheim Ducks center has remained Mason McTavish. There's still so much speculation on what is going on. This is what an unnamed NHL executive told RG just a couple nights ago. He said, I think there's a better chance now that the Ducks keep him, but the teams are still trying to get him from the Ducks and wondering where this is going, and it's still a circling pattern. So this source saying that the Ducks are probably going to keep him, but he did kind of talk a little bit about what could happen as well. I've heard the Canadiens and Hurricanes have been keeping tabs. That's a new name, Hurricanes. We hadn't talked about them, but Carolina now being mentioned as a possible destination for Mason. But one team I keep hearing that has continued to show strong interest is the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, there's a history there with Pat Verbeek and Steve Yzerman. And I think that Steve sees McTavish as a player that would clearly change the whole dynamic of his team up the middle there. And obviously, let's be completely honest here. The Red Wings would love to have Mason McTavish. They would love to have that kind of a player on their team. There is no doubt about that. The Detroit Red Wings would love to have Mason McTavish. But why should the Ducks trade him to Detroit? Why should the Ducks trade him to a team that, quite frankly, doesn't have the assets other teams have? We've already talked about, the Montreal Canadiens, right, as one team that's possibly a trade partner here. We've talked about them, into detail, and now there's another team that showed up here, the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes are a very good team. They're not like some, rebuilding team. They're a very good hockey club, and if they have something to offer for Mason McTavish, they must have more to offer than the Detroit Red Wings. Come on. I just think there's teams out there that have more to give for Mason McTavish than the Detroit Red Wings. There's just no doubt. I just can't see the Red Wings having enough here to trade for the Duck, to trade for McTavish. I just don't see it. This article talks a bit more about the connection here. After playing with the Red Wings between 99 and 2001, Steve Yzerman and Pat Verbeek worked together in hockey operations from 2006 to 2010 out in Detroit. Yzerman serving as vice president and Verbeek serving as a pro scout. When Yzerman left Detroit to become the general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning, he brought Verbeek with him and made him the director of pro scouting for 2 seasons, and then assistant GM, and then director of player personnel. So these two guys definitely are buddies. They just made the John Gibson trade. Yzerman and Verbeek went on to help build the Lightning into a perennial Stanley Cup contender, but they both returned to Detroit in 2019. Yzerman becoming the GM, vice president of hockey operations, and Verbeek assuming the role of assistant GM of the Grand Rapids Griffins. So they went to Tampa, and then they went back to Detroit. Before, of course, the Ducks got him from the Griffins out in 2022, right? 3 years ago, the Ducks hired Verbeek out of the AHL, and that's kind of been where he's been since then. So Verbeek and Yzerman definitely have a very strong connection. It goes back many years. They just, made a trade together not too long ago, right? A little over a month ago with John Gibson. So this team, these guys definitely know each other. But come on, Pat. You can't trade Mason to Detroit and make the Red Wings a playoff team, because that's basically what that would end. That would basically confirm the Red Wings as a playoff team if they were to get Mason McTavish. Mason McTavish is the missing piece that the Red Wings need. Why should the Ducks help out an old rival? And I don't care what people say out there. There's a lot of people saying that the Ducks and Red Wings are not a rivalry. I don't buy it. The Ducks and Red Wings are a rivalry. They played more than enough times in the playoffs for us to completely ignore the fact that they are a rivalry. I mean, they played in 97, 99, 2003, and 2007, and also in 2009, 2010, around there. Forgot the last year. I think it was 2009. But they played enough times in the playoffs for them to be, not a rivalry. I mean, come on. I mean, the Ducks literally swept the Red Wings after they won the Stanley Cup in 2003. I mean, it made me a Ducks fan basically after that. So come on. I mean, the Ducks and Red Wings have to be a rivalry. You cannot ignore the fact that these two teams don't like each other. Both fan bases don't like each other. The Ducks and Red Wings fan base does not like each other, right? I mean, I can't believe that the Red Wings really like. They just don't. They don't like the Ducks, and we don't like the Red Wings either. We don't like the Wings. Every time the Ducks and Red Wings play at Honda Center, it's always a heated game between the players and also the fan bases. There's always a bunch of Wings fans out in Anaheim for some reason. And, it's always a heated game. So there is a rivalry, and it just would be too painful to see, come on, Gibson and Mason playing for the Red Wings. It just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to see this happen. I don't want to see the Ducks trade Mason to Detroit. However, as one player agent recently pointed out to RG, the Ducks having $20 million in cap space, not many NHL owners were likely to sign off on, their general managers throwing down the NHL offer sheet gauntlet. I think that's a huge piece of it. That is what this agent told RG, saying when you go to your owner, hey, I want to do this. And I think if I load it up with the signing bonuses, let's level up what I think they're willing to offer. But I think that's a ballsy thing for the GM to say to his owner, because the cap space that Anaheim already has is so much, right? There's so much room here for the Ducks to move that other teams just don't have, right? And I think that's really what it comes down to, why we haven't seen any offers for McTavish when it comes through the offer sheet route. But tell me what you think. Let's just hope the Ducks get this done soon. We want to see Mason spend many years here with the Ducks. We don't want to see him go to Detroit. As always, make sure to subscribe, and let's go Ducks. Woo!